Alright, gonna try something a little different. So normally when there's one of these OS updates that doesn't really have much for new features, I don't even bother making a video because it feels like a waste of both your and my time. But for completeness' sake, I've always want to do one. So I'm gonna try it with this release and we will see if we can make this work. So at the time I'm recording this, Apple just released the release candidate of iPadOS 26.3 and iOS 26.3. And as you might infer from the intro, there's not really much here in terms of new features. There's only really two things of note that are worth calling out. The first is an improved process in moving from an iOS device to an Android device. It's now going to be much easier to wirelessly transfer things like your notes, your photos, passwords, messages from your existing iOS or iPadOS device to a new Android device. You find this experience by going to the Settings app, going to General, and scrolling down to the bottom where it says Transfer to Android. You'll be able to then walk through a series of prompts and then be able to scan a QR code on your new device in order to initiate the transfer. Now there's some data that's not transferred, like sensitive data, like your health data, that is not included as part of this. But generally the most common data you want on your phone or tablet will be able to be moved over. Now on the Android side, Google has implemented a similar process for moving from Android to iOS. And the great thing about it is you can do all of this without having to download a separate app. Now, this falls under Apple and Google's efforts to comply with laws in the European Union around data portability and making it a little bit easier for users not to get locked into one device or one ecosystem. And even though this change was prompted by the EU, all users will actually be able to take advantage of this transfer process. The story is a little bit different on the second feature that's worth talking about, and that's notification forwarding. This falls under the umbrella of complying with EU law, but the idea behind this is that users will be able to authorize a single, third-party wearable device that you can forward your notifications to. So any connected wearable that's not the Apple Watch doesn't get the same level of notification access that the Apple Watch does. Under the rationale of security, that's not been something Apple's ever allowed. But now there's going to be greater access that's opened up to these third-party wearables. If you're interested, for example, in the new Pebble watches that have just come out, it's now going to be possible for those watches to work better with iOS than they ever did before, which is great for users, at least in the EU. This feature does not appear to be rolling out to any users outside of the EU, which kind of sucks, but it is what it is. So it's going to be interesting to see if maybe a third-party wearable is going to be able to integrate better with the iPad than the Apple Watch ever has, which is kind of cool and kind of sad that Apple has never meaningfully integrated the Apple Watch with the iPad. So with the release candidate build, Apple hasn't given any information on what, if any, bugs have been fixed in this release. Sometimes we get that information in the final release notes, but as of right now, we don't know what bugs supposedly have been fixed. 26 was a big update on all platforms, and yes, there are still a lot of bugs they're working through, but we just don't know which ones may have been addressed. The only thing I can speak to that I've seen is that if you've been encountering the issue where some of your live activities have been square, that seems to have been resolved in this update, but I can't speak to any other real changes that I've noticed. So now I want to talk about what's next. Because while 26.3 was pretty boring, 26.4, if the rumors are to be believed, is going to be much more exciting. It's being suggested that in this next update, we're going to get our first look at the improved personalized Siri that Apple was unable to ship in 2025. It's worth noting though that when Apple announced that delay last year, they essentially said something to the effect of it'll be shipping next year or in the next year. So it's not necessarily guaranteed it's going to show up in 26.4, but the more reliable rumor people are saying it's going to be 26.4. And as you probably heard by now, Apple announced a strategic partnership with Google to use its Gemini models as the basis for its next generation foundation models. Now, basis is something I want to emphasize because I've seen it reported that all Apple's going to do is basically copy and paste the Gemini chatbot onto iOS, call it Siri, and call it a day. I don't think that's really what's going to happen. I would expect those Gemini models to be foundational, but Apple to apply its own customizations and modifications for whatever it's trying to do, like with the personal context integration with Siri. So personally, I wouldn't expect the functionality of the new Siri and Gemini to be one for one. I would expect them to somewhat diverge. It wouldn't surprise me to see this new and improved Siri launch in beta in 26.4, and I could even see Apple starting with the more limited release, the same way they did when they initially rolled out Apple Intelligence where they had a waitlist. It would not surprise me if Apple did not let everyone have access to this at once. All eyes are going to be on this Siri launch for 3 reasons. 1, because it's Apple and anything they do gets a lot of attention and scrutiny. 2, because Siri has not been great for a while compared to its competition. And 3, because they couldn't ship these features when they said they would. Any error or any hallucination or any whatever generated by the new Siri is going to be on the front page of The Verge and the Wall Street Journal and all the tech news sites. Even though we know AI is prone to being wrong a lot, for those reasons, Apple's going to receive more scrutiny than their competitors. They kind of brought this on themselves, so it's kind of hard for me to feel too bad for them. So that's going to do it for this one. Leave a comment and let me know if you think this video was even worth making. You're not going to hurt my feelings if you say it was a waste of time. I'll just know that for smaller releases, I'll write about them instead of making videos. As always, if you made it to the end of this video, thank you. I appreciate you and your time. If you could like the video and subscribe to the channel on your way out, that would help me and the channel out a bunch. Make sure to go to slatepad.org for iPad news, reviews, and anything else I want to write about. And with that, I will catch you in the next one. Thanks and take care.